video. And today we are going to be talking all about pricing, which is something that I'm really, really excited to get into with you because there's so many different ways of pricing and just exactly what it means. And so I'm going to pull up our PowerPoint slide and then we can get into it. This is definitely one of my favorite topics, so can't wait to share it with you. Okay, give me a second here now just to figure myself out. Okay. So have you ever wondered why some brands, right, they charge premium prices, but others seem just unbelievably cheap or affordable? Now, why does Apple cost more than Samsung in some cases? Why does Netflix charge monthly instead of once-off fees? And why is Spotify free, but at the same time also not free? Now, this all comes down to pricing strategies. So in this video, I want us to have a real conversation about the 7 pricing methods that every business owner should know, with practical examples from real companies, and more importantly, what these pricing methods actually mean for business owners. Because in truth, the right pricing strategy can help you to grow. It can help you to improve your profit margins, position your brand properly, and build a healthier business. So let's just get right into it. So the first pricing method is called the cost plus pricing. And this is one of the most common pricing methods, especially for small businesses. This is also one that most people know of and most people think of without going into the other 6. So we're going to look at this one first, right? So with the cost plus pricing, you calculate what it costs you to produce or to deliver your product or your service, and then you add a markup or a profit to that. So for example, if it costs you 100 Rand to make a product and you want to add a 50% markup, then you may sell it for 150 Rand. Now, this method is very common in businesses like bakeries, in retailers, manufacturers, and even some service businesses use this. Now, a bakery, for example, might calculate their ingredients, right? Their packaging, their electricity, the labor that goes into making the products or services, as well as their delivery costs. Either to get the supplies to them or to get it out to customers. And then they would add a margin on top of that. As I previously said, it could be a 50% margin, but that depends. It could be a 50, 60, 40, whatever it is this business is deciding on. And usually it matches industry standards. What is the norm for that standard, for that industry? Because some industries are able to add larger markups and other industries are not able to add as large of a markup. Another reason many small business owners like this method is because it does feel safe and it does feel straightforward because you are covering your costs and all you got to do is just add that markup on it, right? And it does definitely give you a basic structure. But the problem is that your costs do not automatically determine your customer value. So just because something costs you a certain amount to produce does not mean that that is what the market is willing to pay. So for example, if it's costing you 30 Rand to make a donut or a cupcake, and you now want to sell it for 50 Rand after you've added your markup, do you think that the market is going to want to pay 50 Rand for a donut? Probably not, right? Unless this is a really special donut, but probably not, because that is not the perceived value that they are seeing. They can get a really nice donut at Krispy Kreme or another place for maybe a similar cost. So they're not just gonna automatically pay 50 Rand for a donut that they can't see a difference in comparison to others. So cost plus pricing is useful as a starting point, and it's good to use it in any industry just to get a starting point figure. But it should not always be your final pricing decision. But this is where business owners get stuck. They know their cost, but they haven't yet thought through deeply enough about their positioning, the market demand, and the customer perception, right? And those are really important factors that you do need to think through. Now, value-based pricing. This is the second form of pricing, and this is where pricing becomes more strategic. Because value-based pricing means you charge based on the value the customer believes that they are getting, rather than simply what it costs you to create that product. Why two businesses can sell very similar things, but at a completely different price. So take Apple, for example. People are not just buying a phone. They are buying brand trust. They are buying user experience. They are buying the design. They are buying the convenience, the status, and the ecosystem integration. So the price is not just based on the production cost. It is based on the total value that the customer feels that they are receiving. Now, other companies who use this type of a method is Tesla, Rolex, Nike. They are all using value-based pricing. And this is such an important lesson for small business owners because many entrepreneurs, especially in the service businesses, undercharge them when they are actually delivering a very strong value. Now, if your service is saving a client time, if it's reducing risk or reducing stress or improving compliance or increasing their profits or creating peace of mind, or if it solves an expensive problem, then your pricing needs to reflect that. And this is especially true for people in the service industries like consultants, accountants, lawyers, coaches, designers, strategists, and specialists, right? The question needs to become, what problem am I solving and how valuable is that solution to the client? And that is a very different question from how many hours did this take me, which we are used to in the service industry. So value-based pricing is best for brands with a strong reputation or unique value. But the downside of it or the disadvantage of it is that it does require very deep customer insight. You really need to know your customer well and what it is that they are looking for from you. What is their needs? What are their problems? And how are you solving it? What are you giving them? And will they really see the value in that? And that takes a lot of market research, a lot of testing. I don't know if you guys recall when this Dubai chocolate came out, right? It was priced ridiculously, and I think it still is like 200, 300 Rand. And people were paying that price for this chocolate. That wasn't because of the chocolate, but it's because of the perceived value of the chocolate. The next one is competitive pricing. So this method is exactly what it sounds like. You look at what others in the market are charging and then you price around that level. So you may price slightly lower, at the same level, or slightly higher, but that depends on your strategy. Now, this is common in industries where there are many similar providers like supermarkets, fuel stations, airlines, salons, and some of the online stores. For example, if most businesses in your area charge within the same range for a similar service or product, a new business may use that price point as a reference price point. And there's nothing wrong with being aware of your competitive pricing. In fact, you should. You need to know what your competitors are charging and what customers are getting for that price. So you really do absolutely need to know what the market is doing. But the warning in this is that do not build your entire pricing strategy around competitors. Because if your competitors are undercharging or underpricing and you copy them, you may also end up underpricing. And if you don't properly understand your own costs, your value, and your financial goals, you can end up in a race to the bottom, right? And many small businesses often fall into this trap. So they say things like, everyone is charging this, so I have to charge this too. But that is not necessarily the case. You need to understand whether your business model supports that price. You need to ask whether that price leaves room for things like profit, growth, taxes, reinvestment, overall sustainability, so that your business is still standing. And very, very importantly is you need to find a way to differentiate where you can justify charging a slightly higher price, right? For example, if there are street vendors all in a row, all selling the same tomatoes, right? It's very hard for them to charge a different price because the vendor next door is charging the same price or a cheaper price. So maybe what they can do is start offering pre-cooked tomatoes or grated tomatoes or whatever the case is, or packaging or bundling it with something else like onions and potatoes. So different ways of doing that. They need to find how can they differentiate, right? Now, competitive pricing is definitely best for crowded markets that have many similar options, but the downside is that it can most definitely create price wars, which is what ends up happening. The customer benefits and the businesses are at a complete loss. And it also lowers your profit margins. The fourth type of pricing is penetration pricing. So penetration pricing is basically when a business starts with a low price to attract customers quickly and then gain market share, right? And this is often used by new businesses trying to enter a competitive market. For example, a new gym may open with a discounted membership fee, or a new app may launch at a very low introductory rate. Or a business might run a temporary launch special to sort of build that momentum. Now, companies like Uber and Netflix used aggressive pricing in the early growth phases, and many digital businesses do the same when they are trying to gain traction. But the strategy, it can work, right? But business owners need to be very, very careful with it, because what happens is when you start with very low prices, you do attract attention, yes, but they can also attract the wrong set of customers. And once people get used to paying a low price, increasing it later can become difficult. So you need to ensure that the switching costs, the cost of changing, if you're using penetration costing, the cost of changing from your app or your service or your product is so high that they will still stay with you, even though you have increased your pricing by much, but they will still stay because it's just too much of an effort to switch over to something else at this point, right? So you've got to have a strategy with this. And like I said, you've got to be able to increase the switching costs. For example, maybe you are entering a new market, or you are building testimonials, or you want to create trial demand, or you are launching a limited launch campaign. Now, this is very different from permanently undercharging, because you are afraid that no one will buy, right? So use the strategy correctly if you are going to use this. Now, premium pricing is when a business intentionally charges more in order to position itself as a as a high quality, exclusive, luxury, or a specialist, right? So when we think things like this, exclusive, luxury, high end, we start to think about brands like, again, Rolex, Gucci, Louis Vuitton, Mercedes-Benz. They all represent premium pricing very, very well. The higher price is not a problem for the brand. It is part of the brand. It signals things like quality, exclusivity, and status. And this is what, when small businesses or when startups hear the word premium pricing, they sometimes assume that this only applies to luxury products, but it does not. Premium pricing can also apply to service businesses, to niche experts, to boutique agencies or specialists, or brands that offer more personalized, high touch, high quality experience. But premium pricing only works when the full business supports it. And that means that your branding must align, your service quality must align, your customer experience must align, your communication must align, and your results must align to that premium pricing. You cannot charge premium prices with budget positioning. So the bigger business question becomes, what do I want my business to be known for? Do I want it to be known as cheap and accessible, or premium and specialized, or maybe mass market, or boutique, or fast and affordable, or high touch and high value? Because your pricing should support your brand and not confuse it. Now, companies like, okay, I've already given you examples of the companies who do use it, right? But let's go back to a luxury handbag or luxury handbag store that uses premium pricing. It may cost much less to make it than its selling price, but the exclusivity drives that demand, right? There's certain stores that you go in, especially these designer stores, and when you go in, they come to you and they give you special treatment, and they bring you a glass of juice or a glass of wine or whatever it is, and they make you feel special and they listen to your every need, as opposed to you going to Pep or wherever else, right? So there's a certain difference that the store actually smells really great. The lighting is really, it's different compared to, again, Pep. I'm not picking on Pep, but what I'm trying to say is that there's a difference in how you're treated. There are not 10,000 people in Louis Vuitton, because not 10,000 people can afford it or will get that service. So it's on every touch point that there needs to be that level of exclusivity with premium pricing. It has to have on every touch point where the client feels, or the customer feels, that this is luxurious, or that this is exclusive, or that this is high end. You got to make sure that your business is reflecting that in every touch point, right? So it is best for luxury brands or businesses with exceptional quality. But the downside is that it requires very strong branding and reputation. I just want to go to subscription pricing, right? So subscription pricing is where a customer pays a recurring fee, which is usually monthly. And we see this on things like Netflix, Spotify, Adobe, Microsoft 365, Amazon Prime, Google. They all use subscription pricing, right? You can choose to pay monthly or yearly. Yearly is obviously a larger fee, but it works out cheaper than paying it monthly. And monthly just kind of looks affordable to everybody, because it is slightly higher than the yearly fee in total, but it's more affordable to pay it monthly, right? So people often opt for the subscription, and instead of a once-off sale, the business then earns recurring revenue over time. Now, in this case, I spoke of switching costs earlier and making it really difficult to switch. And this is an example. For example, with Google, once they started charging for space, right, on the Google Drive, and people's space in the emails and everything got filled up, because before that, nobody really needed space and needed to pay for Google. But once that happened, what happened? People didn't just stop using Google or Gmail or any of the Google services. They ended up upgrading and taking out that package pricing, because it was just too much effort to now go and create another account, another email account, and another platform. And what about all of the things that were already on their Google platform? So it was easier for them not to switch. So I just thought of that example right now for penetration pricing, and when I spoke of switching costs. But let me not get ahead of myself. We're in subscription pricing, right? So instead of a once-off sale, the business is then going to earn recurring revenue over time. And for many businesses, this model works very, very well, right? Because it improves the predictability. Recurring revenue will be able to help with things like cash flow planning, forecasting, customer retention, which is very important, and stability. So this is why subscription pricing is so attractive for software businesses, for memberships, for retainers, coaching programs, support services, and digital platforms. And for small business owners, this is something worth thinking about very, very seriously. How can you get your customers to pay you month on month on month on month so that you are getting that predictable revenue and that you don't have to keep looking for new customers, right? So you need to start asking questions like, what can I offer on an ongoing basis that creates that recurring value? Or how can I package this to create that recurring income? So this is where then, you can stop chasing just every sale that comes. But there is a responsibility attached to this model. So if people are paying monthly, they expect monthly value. So if your retention becomes so this is where your retention becomes just as important as your sales. Okay, so it is best again for digital services, memberships, coaching, SaaS businesses. But the downside is that you must keep delivering value every month, right? Another thing I do want to mention with subscription pricing is that you save on the cost of acquiring a new customer. Because remember, to go and acquire a new customer, you have to put on months of marketing, right? It's taken I don't know what it is now. Before it used to be 7, but way more than 7 now for an individual to see you online and to start recognizing your brand or even want to engage with it any further. So imagine how many times you've got to advertise, you've got to keep marketing, you've got to pay for paid ads, you've got to get sales consultants and pay those salaries and take your time to have meetings with your potential customers or clients, all of which you would save if you just retained your current customer, your current client. And one way of doing that is through subscription pricing model. Give them a reason to keep coming back, to keep buying from you. Make it easy for them to subscribe to what it is you are doing, right? So we went through cost plus pricing, right? Which is your cost and your markup. We went through your value-based pricing, which works on the perceived value that customers see. We spoke about competitive pricing, which is your price versus your competitors. What is the market charging? We spoke of penetration pricing, where you enter with a low price and then you increase your pricing. We spoke of premium pricing, which is your high price positioning, the quality that you offer, and the experience. And we spoke of subscription pricing. The last type of pricing that we are going to speak of is freemium pricing, right? Now, freemium pricing is when a business offers a very basic version for free, but charges for premium features. So Spotify does this, Zoom does this, Canva does this, Dropbox does it, and LinkedIn also uses versions of this model. So the free version helps to attract users and to build awareness, while the paid version monetizes the customers who want more features, more access, or a better experience. It is a very powerful model, especially in digital businesses, but it also comes with a challenge. The challenge is that you need enough users to convert a meaningful portion into a paying customer base. So for small business owners, the lesson here is not necessarily that you need a freemium app. It is that sometimes giving people a taste of your value can be as a powerful sales strategy. So this can look like things like creating a free checklist or a sample consultation or a free webinar or a lead magnet or a basic plan with paid upgrades or even a sample tester of your product, right? Whatever it is, giving them something that will make them want to come back and get the premium because of how much more they are going to get. Right? So even if you are not a tech company, there's still something that you can learn from this freemium model. And that is that you have to give people a taste of your value. And that in itself becomes a very powerful sales strategy, right? So for example, Spotify gives away free music with ads, but charges for ad-free listening and offline downloads, right? So again, freemium pricing is best for apps, for software, for digital platforms, but anyone can use this model, understand this model to understand how do we find ways to show off our value? What can we do so that the customer wants to come back? And the downside of this is now converting free users into paying customers. It can be difficult. So whatever it is that you are giving them to want them to upgrade to become a paid member must be that they've already seen the value in the free, but they want to continue on this product because they know this product has so much to offer them or has made it such a pleasant experience so that now they will go on to the paid version. Okay, so which pricing model is best? We went through 7 types. Which one is best? And as you can see on the slides, you need to hear this clearly, right? Because there is no single perfect pricing method. Many successful businesses use a combination. For example, Apple uses value-based and premium pricing. Spotify uses freemium and subscription pricing. Netflix uses subscription pricing, and supermarkets use competitive pricing. New market entrants may use penetrative pricing. So the right pricing strategy depends on your target customer, your industry, your brand position, your financial goals, your business model, and the value that you are providing. And this is why pricing should never, ever be an afterthought. Pricing affects your profitability. It affects your customer perception. It affects your brand positioning, your sales strategy, your long-term sustainability. So it is one of the most important decisions in your business. So questions to ask before pricing. If you are reviewing your pricing, here are some better questions that you can ask. Need to ask yourself, who is my ideal customer? What problem am I solving? What is that solution worth to the customer? What are my real costs? So my real costs of providing this product or this service. What are competitors charging? And does that actually make sense for my business? Am I trying to grow fast, to build volume, or to protect my profit margin? Do I want to be seen as affordable, or as premium, or as accessible, or as a specialist? Because pricing is not just about your affordability. It is about the alignment between your numbers, your value, your market, and your business goals. If you are starting a business, or if you are even already in business, remember this. Pricing is not just a number. It is a message. It tells customers whether you are affordable. It tells customers whether you are premium or trusted or exclusive or innovative. So you need to stop treating pricing. You need to stop treating pricing as something that you just guess. You need to think about it strategically, because I have seen too many business owners who work incredibly hard, deliver real value, stay fully booked, and still struggle financially simply because the pricing model behind that business was not strong enough. And this is why having these conversations matter. So if you want to build a business that is profitable, is sustainable, and is positioned properly in the market, then you need to understand not just what to charge, but why you are charging it. Let me know in the comments, which pricing method do you think that most business owners get wrong or that they use? Let me know which pricing model you are using, or if you've thought this much about pricing, or what your takeaways were from this video. I would love to know more. And if this video helped you to understand business better, please do like, subscribe, let us know in the comments that you enjoyed this and you want more of these types of businesses for your business, and we will definitely get onto it. This is something that's very important to me. I studied it all through my MBA, And I enjoy these types of topics, helping business owners. So please do let me know. I do want to leave with saying that with pricing, you need to understand every element of your business. You need to understand the types of customers you are targeting. You need to understand your business. What is your business going to be reflected as? What is your standout factor or your value proposition? Every touch point so that you can price correctly. You do need to play with your figures. You do need to put together projections and income statements and balance sheets. And while this all sounds very, very overwhelming, it can be done. There are templates you can find online, or you can reach out to us at HM Accounting. I will be dropping my details into the description box and into the comment section. Reach out to us. We can help you to price your business. We can help you to create your customer avatars. We can help you to get a proper representation of your business and where you stand in the market. You will need to put in research. You will need to put in time into this and testing. And if you need help, we are here. But either which way that you do it, it needs to be done so that you get the pricing thing more or less accurate, right? So I hope this video helped you. Let me know in the comments and let me know what else you would like me to cover. Until next time, take care. Bye.